Yeah, welcome. Hopefully all of you are fine and highly motivated for this session. Yeah, what's the topic for today? So today I would like to talk about a product portfolio of control boxes which we have launched already in 2018. Till now, yes, it was. Yes, we sold several devices, not too many, yeah, because of several reasons. But that has been significantly changed, and that was also the reason why we have decided to have that session. We are, yes, getting in the last weeks and months more and more requests about questions, about setup, about anything, yes, how to set up the devices. And during that session today, I would like to give you more information about it, that you are just know what you have in hand, what are the technical features, what are the arguments, how to sell the devices, and so on. Yeah, let's have a look into the agenda. So at the beginning, I will give you some general information. Then I would like to give you the more details about the different versions of TC649, when you should use which version of the TC649. And then I think one of the most important parts is really the setup. How to bring a TC649 in a network environment up to work, into how to bring it into business. That's what I will try to address in or explain within the next 45 minutes. Why has that demand for these time switches now increased so heavily? Yeah, as you know, we have currently increased energy costs. That just means customers, companies, and so on, they have to look, okay, where can they use energy in a very efficient way? That means also where can I save energy, where do I waste energy? And very often it's those kind of things, okay, lights and so on are just too often switched on during the night or whatever. And that's something where you have a very easy way how to save energy costs without losing too much really business. Then also, especially here in Germany, but I guess it's also similar in other companies, we have clearly legal regulations where we have to switch off lights for advertisement in the streets or for companies and so on during the night. You have to do that. So, for example, here in Germany, we have to switch off these banners in the evening at 10 o'clock. And if you do not switch them off, you have to pay penalty. Yeah, so also there is a pressure, and now companies just realize, okay, if I just have to do it on one location, that's easy. But if I have a company with many different locations, the effort is pretty high. And so it's really also a question, how can I adapt, or how can I change those kind of time programs in an easy way without a high effort. High effort means really that I have to travel from A to B to C and then to distribute the new time program. And this is just a waste of resources, waste of time. So you have to be more efficient in that way. But also we can see there is definitely a big difference between private users and corporate users. But this TC649 is, I will say, in most of the cases really a product where we want to address corporate customers. That means companies, that means probably grocery stores which have many different locations and so on. That's the idea of that product portfolio. Yeah, and due to the fact that we have everywhere networking, network-based time switch is definitely a very interesting topic. That's what I also have here on that slide. It's not just the distribution, but also it's the way how you can connect to each single device. That we have, for example, for our TCE 649C, a cloud-based solution, that you even do not have to be in the intranet of each device, that you also can manage these devices via a cloud solution. And another very, very big advantage is really that these devices can be updated very easily with a software update. That means that in case of any software bugs or difficulties in the software, we can do an update. But also what we can do very easily to enhance, to add new features, to add more functions to the devices as well. That's a very clear and very powerful advantage of any networking-based devices. And as you know, everywhere you have networking available in those kind of locations, so that's not really a problem. On the other hand, I have marked it here in yellow. To set up the devices, to get it up to work, you need some basic knowledge. You have to understand what's needed, what steps you have to do, that it will work also properly in the network. And especially in bigger companies, you also should be aware that sometimes you also have to coordinate your activities with a local network administrator, that they know which devices are connected to the network. So in general, if you are in a company network, please be careful to connect just a networking device to the network. It could happen otherwise, you connect it to the wrong network or to a network where administrators will just block all the foreign devices, that no foreign devices will be accepted on a network, and then it might not work. So please also keep in mind, coordinate those kind of activities with your customer, that you really align those kind of activities with the network team. Yeah, so distribution of time programs, I just have here a short, yes, I will, let's see. Okay, here in the comparison, now I have the bird. In the upper step, you can see how we have done previously, or with the classic time switches, the transfer of the time programs. So you just create the time program via the Obelisk software. Then you have to go on site to the TC, put the Obelisk stick or the Bluetooth stick into the TC, load the time program into the TC, then travel to the next device, do the same step, next. And that's very time efficient and also cost efficient, because if you have to do that in several hundred locations of a grocery store, you have to calculate half a year for those kind of things. And that's the effort is just far too high. So with the TC, you just create your time program, then connect from remote, from your PC to each web page of each devices, and just distribute, download the time program via the network to each devices. And that just takes 1-2 minutes, depends So it's really much faster, and especially it is cheaper. And so if you just calculate the travel costs and the work time, then you save a lot of money when you are using here a network-based time switch. So in general, about the functions of the TC649, of the control box. So I do not distinguish here between the different versions of the TC649 because they have exactly the same technical functions from a load perspective, but also from a software perspective. So very easy, no problem. So insulation width is 70 millimeters. We have 4 channels. 2 channels are changeover contacts, 2 normally open contacts, so no contacts. All of these are B-stable, and the maximum load you can have per channel is about 6 amps. If you want to switch in a big office or a big advertisement banner with the TC, then anyhow you have to connect a bigger relay behind it to handle the load. It has 2 networking connectors. I will explain them later on. And very important, low current consumption. That also means, yes, the TC649 itself does not consume too much energy because the purpose is really to save the energy, not to spend the energy in a time switch. But anyhow, it's a device which is always connected to the network and also to power. So here we're also looking into it, that it does not consume too much. Software. So these are the classic software functions which we have in our time switches. For sure, it's the switching program. Then we have some special programs. We have hour counter, astro functions, and many other functions. I think it's really a very powerful time switch where you also can configure yearly functions as well. Additionally, what kind of connectors do we have? How do we connect the TC with in the distribution board? Therefore, I have here the TC649, and we have here just these kind of connectors, these plug-in connectors. So you just have to put here the cable into it, and when you have the device on site, just connect it into the device. And that's true for the channels, but also for the mains, for the power. And here you have then also the 2 networking connectors. Very simple, very easy. And it's the same for all the devices. Here I do have a TC649E, and this here I have a classic TC649. I've already mentioned a few things. What is the advantage of the TC649? So if you want to follow like trends, like the energy saving days, then this is really an excellent way how you really can adapt your time programs to those kind of trends. If you have a shopping Sunday or a few other things, that's something where you want to be flexible, where you just probably know a few days or weeks before, and you do not want to spend a huge effort into the setup, into the changes of the time program. If you have to spend a lot of time and money and effort into it, you will not participate in those kind of activities. If it is easy, then you can do it, and yes, you will have a good advertisement for your location, for example. So that's just the advantage of the TC. Then for sure, for all the time switches, energy saving is always a topic. But also very clear, it's important, tamper-proofed, so that non-authorized people are not able to manipulate the device itself. If you just have a look on the device, Let me have a look. Then you do not see any buttons. You just see here 4 LEDs. You see here the connectors, but you have no display, nothing. So even if you have directly access to the device, you cannot manipulate any time programs directly on the TC. That's the big advantage what we have here as well. So that you just can load the software remotely to the device itself. On that slide, I have a nice overview of the different versions of the TC649. So in 2018, I think that's where we started with the TC649. We have announced a server-based version. So especially for grocery stores, for big customers, for corporate customers. The idea was really I have one headquarter in one city, and all the different locations, all the single stores are connected via intranet with that headquarter. In the headquarter, you have a PC running, a dedicated PC or even a virtual PC, where a specific software is installed. We have named the software STB software to run that. And you just register all the TCs in all different locations on that on that master PC. On that master PC, you create your time program. You just select to which single devices or to which group of devices, like all the devices which are in one city or within one country. And you, just with one click, you can start the distribution of the time programs to each single devices. Probably you have hundreds of devices, and one click you have to go home, and in the next morning all the devices are updated, are running the new versions of the software or of the time program, and that's fine. And that's based on a secure communication. So very clear, TC649E or 649, sorry, is really a server-based version for big installations where you have hundreds or 10 or hundreds of devices where you really want to use the efficiency of the server-based time program distribution. That's the idea behind it. So the steps how to set up the TC649, that server-based version, are a bit different than the normal, the classic versions. But also I would like to ask you, if you have a customer who is interested in that big solution, that enterprise solution, I would say, then please get in contact with me or with the product manager that we can coordinate those kind of offer and of the setup of these kind of installations. Because as I mentioned here, the way how to get it into the network, to register the devices in the software is a little bit different, and I will not explain that within that session here. If we have here a specific installation, then we can look into the details. Then we have two additional versions, that's TC649E and TC649C, which we have developed based on exactly the same hardware as the server-based version, but with its own web server, where you can very easily set up the devices locally in your network. So it's more a single device solution where you have probably 1, 2, 3 devices of the TC within your intranet, and which you would like to use to switch on any lights or door open and close doors or whatever you would like to do with that. But that's the idea of the TC649E and C. So as I've mentioned, For the E, you just access the device via the intranet. So you have to be connected to your intranet to connect to the web page to upload the time program. If you want to do it remotely, then you need a VPN connection into that intranet. Otherwise, you cannot do it from remote. And you upload the time program via a local web page of the TC649E itself. It's definitely a manual process. So you have to type in the URL or the IP address as a URL into your browser. You will connect to the local web page of each device, and then you can manually upload the time program to the TC. So it's definitely a higher effort because you have to connect to each device separately. Then we have the TC649C. The difference between these two devices is just the C also supports the Theben cloud access. So that means that if you want to access the device via VPN, it's still working, but also now here you have the option that you can also use the Theben cloud service. That means independent where you are, you just connect to our Theben cloud portal, log in, and then all of the devices are listed, all of the registered devices are listed, and you just select it and do a manage of these devices. You will also then get to the web page and have exactly the same options as you are locally connected with the devices. That's the big difference. So these are single device solutions. Here we have a server-based solution. Now let's have a look into the details of the TC itself. Very simple. Here we have 4 LEDs. I will explain the LEDs later on. Then here you have the connector for mains, 230 voltage. And we have here 2 networking connectors. One is the service connector, one is the Ethernet connector. I will explain later on the difference between these 2 devices. Then we have here 2 switching contacts, here and here. So overall 4 contacts, 2 knock contacts, so normally open contacts, and 2 changeover contacts. Be stable. Very important also, you see here the serial number of the device itself. You can also see it here on the live device. That's in here. That's the serial number of each device. So each device has its own serial number. Okay, what kind of LEDs you have on the TC itself? We have here one LED with the web server. Web server means when this LED is on, is not blinking, then the web server service locally is up and running, and you can connect to the web server via a browser. If it is blinking, the web server blinking, or if it's off, then the web server is not available. So the boot process has not been completed yet. Then we have the time service. That means, okay, either it's running on the local internal clock, or it synchronizes its time via an NTP time service. NTP is for Networking Time Protocol. I really strongly recommend that you are really set up the NTP time synchronization in most of the intranet in a company. They have a NTP time server running. You just have to know that IP address. You enter the IP address, and then it will work. But there are also in the public internet time services available, which you can use as well. Then we have here the relay, it's just a status relay. At least when one of the 4 channels is switched on, also the relay LED is on. It's off only when all 4 channels are switched off. Otherwise, it's green. And here we have the power, it blinks. Then additionally, we have networking status LEDs. By the way, you have those kind of LEDs typically also on your PC or other networking devices. And these LEDs are pretty helpful if you do not know, am I properly connected to a network or not? So on the left side, a moment, we have here, on the left side of each connector, we have here LED. And these LEDs are typically yellow, and they will indicate if they are on, that you are properly connected to the network, at least on the physical layer. That if the yellow LED is not on, then you will never ever be able to establish a proper network connection. Then we have a second LED on the right side of each connector. That's a green one, and it will indicate, it will blink when any data will be transmitted on the network. So the left one should be always yellow and the green one should blink. And if this is the case, then you have managed one very important step to get the device up and running. Here are more details about these LEDs. I have mentioned that already, so there is, I will skip that step as well, but it's just helpful. I just want to mention at the beginning, when you connect the TC to mains, all the LEDs will start blinking, and then after a while, when the boot process has been completed, then the LEDs will show the current state of each service. Okay, what else is important? So we have here a service. As I've mentioned, we have 2 networking interfaces. One is the service interface, one is the Ethernet interface. The service interface or service connector, network connector, the purpose of this is just to bring the device into service. So just at the beginning you need that connector, and it's more or less to find out what is the IP address that the TC will get on the Ethernet connector. That's all what you need to know, because it has no displays. You then do not know what IP address you have got from your network. A network administrator also would see in their networking settings what kind of IP address the device got from the DHCP server, but on the device itself you will not see that. And so in the initial phase, and that's also what I will show you later on, you just connect to the TC and you to understand what kind of IP address you have got. Very, very important, and I have marked it here in red. Please never ever connect that service connector, this one here, to an established network. That's not the intention, and that's also not allowed, because here is also a DHCP service running on that device, and you do not want to have that service available in your intranet. So please do not connect any network cable from your customer network to this service port. At the beginning, and that's also what I will show you, you just connect from the service port a direct cable without any other hub in between or switch in between, a direct cable from this connector to your laptop. That's important. No connection to any other network. So please be here very strict. Otherwise, you can really also cause a lot of trouble in a customer network. And yes, network administrators are here really very sensitive. Then we have the second connector on the device, the Ethernet. And here to that connector, please plug in your customer network to that connector. And that's okay, that's fine, then it will work. It will typically then also request via DHCP an IP address from your customer network, and it will also get few other information from the network like the gateway IP address, the subnet address, and so on, so that it can properly communicate within the customer network. You can configure here the network settings either via the DHCP, or you can also configure a fixed IP address via the web page. Both is possible, both is allowed, that's fine. There is one nice feature available, but not all of the routers support this feature. We have here on each device, as I have mentioned, the serial number. And also this device, when it requests a DHCP address, it will register on the DHCP server with that serial number. And if that name is then propagated from the DHCP server, then you can also connect to the device directly via the name. As I have mentioned, that all of the routers support these things. So the better and the safe way is really to use the official IP address and connect via the IP address to the devices. Then if you are connected to the devices, you will see the local web page of the TC649 with the login and password, and you just log in with admin and with the password admin, user admin, password admin initially to the devices. But please do not forget to change the password. Otherwise, it's very easy for unauthorized people to guess this password and to modify the device. So please change the password. And the other thing you should also be aware of, officially we support the Firefox browser, the Chrome and the Safari browser to log in to the device. So in case of doubts, please always use these browsers. So when you have opened or when you are connected to the web page, you will get the information about your device information. Here I have a screenshot of a German web page, but that's not a problem, where you see all the important information like serial number, the current time and date, the current OT2 file, and so on. And also the IP address the device has on the Ethernet connector. By the way, I've mentioned on the service, the IP address on the service network connection is, I think I have also mentioned it on the web page, it's 192.168.138.3. Yeah, but you have that information also on the slide as well. Yeah, you can also connect not just from the PC, also from your smartphone to the device and, for example, do a direct command for channel switching from these devices as well. Then we have here the network settings, where you configure just all these network settings I have mentioned, where you can say either you configure DHCP or you have a fixed IP address, but also here, for example, the NTP server. This is, for example, a public available NTP server or service. If you want to use this one, you just need to use this URL or this host name. Then you can use it, or if you have an internal in your intranet time service and NTP server, just use here either the host name or the IP address. Additionally, on that web page, you can also set the time zones and so on for the astro settings. Under Control, Steuerung, you have the possibility to download the OT2 files to the device as well. And then create the OT2 file and load it to the device, upload it to the web page, and then upload it to the device. That's it. That's the process. We have few changes in the software versions. So there are new versions now available. And here is just an overview about the latest version of the software. So if you have any troubles with your device, then please ensure that you have uploaded the latest version. If you have no problems or if everything works fine in your situation, then there is no real need to upgrade to these versions. But here you have the current versions right now. Yeah, and now I would like to do a short live demo. Therefore, I have these devices here available. Devices which are already connected to the network. I have here two LEDs, and they are already connected here, as you can see, with the blue cable. For the moment here of these devices, they are already connected to your network. And also here, as I've mentioned, web service running, the Theben services is on and power is blinking. So the devices are properly running. I will now first try to find out what kind of IP address this device got here from my network. Therefore, I have here my own networking cable, and this network cable is also here connected to my local PC. And I will now connect that into the device. Moment that you can also, I will go to here. Now you can also see I connect it to here. And I will, Okay, and what is now, okay, I've just got a question about what happens if the customer connects the service to a local customer network. I will come to that later on. Just let me complete that step. But this is really a very good question. So the first step, when you want to run a TC in your network or want to set it up, then I would recommend go here to Start and go here down to Microsoft System, and then you can hear the prompt, and we will get here the DOS prompt. Just let me make it a little bit bigger that you can also better see what I'm doing here. Oops. Okay. Okay, now it's a little bit bigger. The first command is really to find out what kind of IP address I have, or if I'm properly connected, I will do an IP config. And then I'm getting here the information, okay, I have got from the network, from my local network, from the device. Also here the LEDs, by the way, are on and blinking. I have my own IP address I have got for my PC is 192.168.138.5. And now, as I've mentioned, the service IP address is 192.168.138.3. I will do a ping. And I can see, okay, now it's pinging, I am properly connected. When I disconnect now the cable from the device, you see LEDs are off. Now we are also getting here an error message. Yeah, and when I reconnect it, then it works again. So that's a very easy way to ensure that you are really using the right port of a device. Yeah, it works. And if this works properly, you just open your browser, the Chrome browser. You go to the IP address 192.168.168.138.3. Okay, say enter. I have done that already, and I have saved the password. That's the reason why I get not the information, or I will not get a prompt to enter the username and password. So I will directly be now connected to the status page of the device. And now we can see exactly here the serial number. I also have here the possibility to switch it to the English language. Then it's probably easier for you to understand it. Here you have an overview of all the devices. And you can see here now the IP address, and that's important, how the device is reachable in your local network. That's 199. And the next step is really, I will now disconnect my service port again. I will open again my browser. And now I will enter the new IP address, 192.168.188.199. And you will see it looks exactly the same. It's functionality-wise the same web page, but via a different networking port. And that's how I am. And now it's working without I'm connected. I have here a connector or a cable connected to the service port. And in here, I have the possibility to do the network settings, to do the time and country settings, or change the password. And under control, right now, all the channels are off. Under control, direct connection, I can now also switch on, for example, one channel manually, and now you will see, okay, LED is on, and also now the relay LED, status LED, will indicate that it has been switched on. So please do not forget to switch all the channels to auto, otherwise time programs will not work. Now, what are the steps if you have a cloud-based TC? Therefore, I will, and that's my TC649C, that's this one here. I will close my browser again. I will open a new one. I have here the URL for the Theben portal, that cloud.theben.de, but also here, due to the fact that my password and my username is already known and saved, I will not get prompted for these. I'm already on that web page. I will go to gateways. On the gateway also here it is listed. That's the device with the serial number 42. And as you can see here, that's the device here with the 42. I will just click here on Verwalten. Sorry. Also here I have to go normally to select the English language. And now I'm getting to the same web page. It just takes a few seconds. And I will see then the IP address of this device. It has a different IP address for sure. But if I want to control, okay, now I have the English language. I go to control, direct connection. I just switch here now to permanent on, and you will see that this device here will switch on. Yeah, you see. And now I'm not directly connected via an IP address to that device. I'm working through the Theben cloud account. That's the only difference between the local connections and the cloud connection. Local means that I'm using here an IP address. The cloud-based connections, I'm going here via cloud.theben.de. That's the only difference between these devices. And how do I upload or how do I generate a time program? Therefore, I'm just opening the Obelisk software. I'm selecting under controls the TC. As you can see, we do not distinguish here between the versions. Just use here TC649. Say OK. Then OK. Also here I have the languages. I think it's under options. Oh no. I know there is. There are the languages. Sprache. No. Just one moment. Sprachobelisk, Feiertag. Einstellung PC software. Yeah, here it's English. Okay, now I have configured to English. I have here my 4 channels. Channel 1, just for example, on off. Oops, this one here. Yeah, that's for example the configuration for channel 1. And if I have an astro channel available as well, then I go, for example, here to channel 3. Go here to astro. And then I will see here for channel 3 the astro functions. And I can, for example, then also do here a fix off. Yeah, so during these times, the lights will definitely be switched off. I will just save that setup TC649C setting, save, and I will go to control, go to OT2 download. I will select the software, the OT2 file, which I have just created, like this one here. I say open. Now you can see, read it here. Say download. That also now takes a few seconds to upload the time program to the device via the Theben cloud. Now back to the question which was mentioned. So what happens if you connect the service port to the customer network? And now, sorry to get a little bit more into the details, networking details. That means behind that service port, we are running our own DHCP server. DHCP server means that he will answer to DHCP requests and will assign to these devices an own IP address. And this device will just assign an IP address in its own IP address range to these devices. For example, if somebody connects a laptop to that network and now suddenly he got an IP address which is completely different and independent of the customer network. And so the PC might get a wrong IP address, cannot communicate in a network, and the client will complain, my laptop is not working. So that's really the reason. Please be very careful. Never ever connect the service port to existing network. Very, very important. It even could happen, and I know many network administrators are pretty strict. It could happen, and here I would be very honest. If you connect the device once to the network and they see there is a DHCP service running on that device, you will never ever get that device again running in that network. Yeah, because the IP administrator, they have identified the MAC address, and they will immediately put that MAC address on the blacklist. And when they see these kind of devices, the port will be disabled and it will not work. So that's the reason that you should not, it's not allowed to connect the service port to an existing network. Please be here very strict. Otherwise, you can cause a lot of trouble for you, for the customer, and for a few other people, for the network administrator and so on. Yeah, so please be here very, very strict. Hopefully I have answered that question very clearly. Are there any other questions? Because I am at the end of my presentation right now. One moment. No further questions at all. Yeah, then I just would like to say thank you for your time. I think, yeah, that was the live demo. And last session is, yes, just a final slide. Yeah, if there are no further questions, thanks for your time. Thanks for your interest. Happy selling of the TC649. Oh, there is.
Okay. Well, there is one question incoming. So, do we have the option to monitor the output voltage per hour currently with this appliance?
No. Right now we just have functions switch on, switch off per channel, and you also will just get that status on and off per channel, but we are not able to measure further details per channel. That's not possible right now with a TCE. It's just yes, switching on off like a typical time switch. Okay, further questions? No further questions. Then again, thanks for your time, thanks for your interest. Yes, have a nice day. Thanks.